call, so I'd like to officially have open the meeting on October 16, 2025. There's Tumblr, I should say, Historic Preservation Commission. I will take roll at this time. My name is Dave Shipley. I'm chair. Alex Rossiter, are you present? Here. Dave McAndry. Present. Marty Slakey.
Here.
Don Trosper.
In here, yes.
Rob Taylor.
Here, sir.
In flesh.
In the flesh.
And we are now going to any changes to the agenda. Any changes? Okay. We have approval of minutes. The first one we'll deal with is November 21 of 2024. Any corrections or additions or whatever to the minutes that you received?
I'll move approval, because I did read them.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the commission minutes of November 21, 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. We have another meeting, this is the meeting of March 20 of 2025. Any changes or alterations to that one? Been moved and seconded to approve the March 20, 2025 commission meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public comment? Do you have anybody in public comment? Yes? Not? Okay. We are to the transportation interpretive projects in plural.
This is really more of a discussion item amongst the commission, but I'll start you off and say that we're happy to have Bill Lindauer here tonight. He's city engineer to address traffic and transportation and roundabout infrastructure in case you have questions about that. Happy that he's taking his time tonight to help us out. Commissioner McAndry did a fantastic presentation to you long ago, the last time we were here. He's also talked with the city council about the project and several projects, and several of them are very excited about it as well. And I think it's kind of has a groundswell of excitement in the community going. Dave and I we've had a couple different meetings, and we did a trip to Tenino to talk to the stone carvers. He can talk more about that and about this. So with that, Dave, I'll turn it over to you if you want to lead it off.
Okay, well, I think, what we might do productively tonight, especially since the city engineer is here first, is to talk about, Chuck's and my, consult with the sandstone carvers at Tenino regarding the placement of a 47th parallel monument. I think it's fair to say, Chuck, you can confirm or deny that of the elements in that presentation I made to the council, the 47th parallel thing seemed to have been generated the most interest.
Yeah.
Not the other aspects were uninteresting. In fact, I've received many emails from half of the council members, especially Council Member Jefferson, regarding the roadside iconography of the Mark 5 College Trail, 99 State Highway, all the stuff that's on Don's shirt. And she's very enthused about that in particular. So anyone's opposed to it. But I think the aspect of that project that brought to fruition, not to minimize its complexity, is just simply a matter of identifying where those signs might be posted. Putting a monument in the middle of brand new city infrastructure on Trosper Road is a more complicated proposition that I think we ought to concentrate on that, especially since the city engineer is here. And then we can have a work study discussion about where College Trail or Highway 1 signs might go. We were called, Darlene and I mapped that out in the presentation, but that was just concept. So we met with the carvers. Well, I did read the chain of email Chuck sent. Was I the only one that got that on the commission, Chuck? Or did
Yes.
So Chuck gave me the honor of sharing some internal email between his department and Public Works. And my, this is being recorded too, isn't it?
It is.
The thing I was going to, well, I'm too far out on the limb, I'm gonna say it anyway. It seems like the one idea that met with immediate staff rejection by the Public Works Department was the idea of a QR code or something like that. That someone, fortunately, that was a city council idea, none of us. had it. So, and
Bill's shaking over here.
you're gonna have to buy those fish yourself. But to move the idea along. Can I go up, I'll just go up and demonstrate. Is there actually anyone on Zoom or is this just being recorded?
It's just being recorded.
Okay. So I don't need to make any effort to speak to anyone.
No, it's picking up everything you say, so.
Okay, so we met down at this Hercules Quarry. And we went to the quarry, we went to a couple of their carving shops. And this was just kind of this was for sale actually in their store. And it immediately struck me as being kind of it's got statues, it's got inherent symbolism. But what I found that the idea we kicked around is just imagine a 6-8 foot version of this tall. Although the business about the shrubs there, that's an interesting. Having defended the oak tree nearly to death, now I'm going to be in a position of cutting back the shrubs in the roundabout. Because anything we put there would in 5, 10, 15 years obscure the monument. But the basic scheme was to put this in the center of the roundabout with a globe on the top. The globe would have kind of a band that otherwise that identifies it as being the 47th parallel. And somewhere on the base is just simply engraved on all 4 sides, 47th parallel. And the other aspect, which is complicated by Public Works review, because there's a concern about too much signage. I love driving those roundabouts, but they're great fun, especially in a 1974 Fiat sports car that has a turning ratio that's to die for. But imagine what I just described, and then on these 4 faces, which face down into the viewing angle of someone going around the circle, you have the College Trail logo, Highway 99, Public State Highway 1, Pacific Highway, carved into the stone using the icons that Don's. So it's not really signs in the sense, it's Bill, right? Yeah, I shouldn't be so formal referring to you as the city engineer all the time. Do you remember talking to me out in the street?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Everybody now remembers the first time they met Dave DeCann.
Digress for a second.
And you say it's in a positive way.
Your department's well trained because when the sidewalk superintendents come out and they're just kind of, your staff is in the background watching Lakeside, whoever. But when they see a citizen come out, they're right there. They want to know what you're interested in. So that's a
They
compliment.
start using their shovels and things that look like.
Getting too close to the ditch, all that stuff. That was a 90-day hassle, but it's done. Looks good. So anyway, that's the idea. A globe, the pedestal will need to be bigger for a 47th parallel
Oh.
to be engraved in it. It might not, the dimensions might not be this, that looks like Bill's the mathematician, that looks 3-to-1, 4-to-1. Maybe it's 50-50, so that if you get my point, but that's the basic idea. The carvers seemed enthused about it, and so that's the basic concept.
You wouldn't want traffic to slow down to take a picture of QR code on.
No. No, and the point I interrupted myself was we don't want those official signs. Because that would confuse people. Oh, wait a minute, what's 91? What's Route 1? What's what?
Yeah.
So, but if in stone, as opposed to replica signs like the historic Highway 99, that would the prospect for confusion would be minimized, I think, in extreme.
And David, I know I should know this, but which cul-de-sac is it exactly?
It's the roundabout on Trosper Road closest to Dutch Bros
Oh.
and the Burger King.
The largest one, right?
Well, they're all the same size, aren't they, Bill?
Uh,
Those roundabouts, don't they all have the same diameter on
No,
Trosper?
no,
The one at Capital's bigger?
they're all a little bit different, and they're kind of misshapen if you look at them, you know. kind of lines. There's a little misshapen in this, that's how roundabouts are done typically now. It is the biggest roundabout, center on
Is it the biggest one in the city?
it might be.
Well, maybe we ought to ask you what you think of this.
Maybe I can give a couple of insights if you wish.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what the object was going to be. I think it's a good idea. I think all roundabouts need something to make them look nice. I think just so you understand kind of how this all works, there's not really a sight distance issue with putting something inside of a roundabout. Because you're not really supposed to be able to, the drivers are not supposed to look across the roundabout, they're supposed to look left and right. So, when they enter the roundabout, and they're also supposed to be on slope. So, the sight distance is not really an issue in the center. Anything that we put in there, from a standpoint of the size, I think there's a lot of utilities in there. But I was looking at it today and probably something, I don't know exactly what the diameter would be. There's enough room, I think, in the middle to put something pretty good size without impacting any of the utilities that we have.
So if I can interrupt, so the need to be able to remove it is not an issue?
There is an important factor with the idea that, so whatever goes in there is gonna need in my opinion, it'll need some kind of a spread footing to distribute the weight, which could be something as simplistic as a concrete pad, even below ground, and then, or at ground surface, for the spread footing, and then the object on top. And we're also gonna wanna, I mean, it's highly unlikely that we would have an issue, in the long term, but, there's a really big high pressure gas main out there, big utility corridors, sewer, water, and they all kind of converge and go through the center of the roundabout. So we're gonna want, it would be nice to have some way to move those things if we ever had to move them, if we had to dig down. And that's actually a pretty simplistic thing to do. It just means that the foundation would have to have big locations on it, so they could just lift it up and move it. And the same thing on that.
Nuts and bolts on it to both of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing on something, structure like that, at least have a plan of action, on how they could actually. I don't think. Oh, well, the other thing was, I like your idea, I think it's kind of cool, the globe part.
Yes.
So one thing to consider on that is, you don't want anything that's reflective.
No, it'd be stone.
Okay, yeah, I just wanna make sure.
Everything's
we're trying to
still-
make something. So that's the other kind of an important factor is, driver distraction.
You don't want it moving or anything.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anything that you're proposing would like overly distract the driver. I mean, another way to say it is if you were to put some kind of an obelisk up there, with a whole bunch of writing on it, then people would be attracted to go into the middle of the roundabout.
Driving by, trying to-
Yeah, or reading it, and that's kind of, it's gotta kind of be a balance. I mean, those are, just kind of common sense thoughts on kind of whether it's too distracting or not.
So David, it's a great idea. I can't wait to see it. But since people can't read it as they're going around the cul-de-sac, and there isn't really a way to walk over to it,
No, there's no pedestrian access to it.
how are people gonna know this symbolism of what it is, the significance of what it is and what it marks?
Well, base of the sculpture, I'll call it. Could you call this a sculpture?
Carving.
So imagine the base being, it's. When we talk with the carvers, they imagined a thicker base, so imagine everything you see here, but starting from this point perhaps, rather than at this, and then and on all four sides, it's just I will say engraved a lot, engraved and not carved in stone. Would just simply be for either 47 with the degree symbol, 47 parallel, and that's all. And then there's a globe on it that just simply shows a line running around the northern hemisphere.
And there would be publicity,
Yeah,
so the installation of it with newspaper articles and some,
Social media.
yeah.
I mean, just generating the idea of secured newspaper coverage.
And, you know, picture that everything's the same gray color.
Yeah.
So there's no, you know, it's just the relief of where they carve out the letters or the numbers. And it really shows up.
But what, do you like the idea of the carvers carving out 99 Cowlitz Trail, Primary State, Pacific Highway in each of these? Do you like that?
So I'm just gonna say, just generally speaking, so I like the idea that the only challenge I would have with it is just from a road, what do you call it, directional
Yes.
sense, is that that's where it gets to be confusing, like if you put something that looks like enough like a specific road or a direction, then that could be confusing. I mean, if you did it in a way that doesn't look like a direction, that would be my only concern.
In other words, I would tend to, you could just simply say US 99.
Well,
And-
can I use Don as? Please stand.
It's an ugly billboard, but we'll take it.
So imagine on one face.
This won't pooch out the front like this.
Imagine on one face, we know the carvers can do this level of detail. No, that's exactly what you don't want. The back,
Probably not.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
because that is directionally oriented, that's showing people pathways.
Yeah.
We don't want to get people into kind of a pathway mode with this, it's purely iconic.
Promotional brochures could have that.
So imagine this image, College Trail, just carved into the stone right here. Or on one side of Pacific Highway being on another side. And Primary State Highway 1, which no one would expect to see on the third side. The only one, Bill, I think is of concern to you would be this one. But then everyone knows that road is Old Highway 99. So even that's not way out of bounds.
I was just gonna say, does it make some sense to have a plaque next to that or somewhere in the cul-de-sac that says historical marker site?
But you don't have access
You
for
don't have
pedestrians.
You can't get out there.
No.
I know, but
Even
make
by
it
that
big
walk
enough
in the Tumwater sign by the one,
so that people know it's a historical monument as opposed to any kind of directional current day sign.
Well, let me just supplement all of that with this other thought. You'll recall the very original presentation. This is a classic case of the tail wagging the dog. But it's what the council really gravitated to, which is why we're here. But you'll recall, the idea is to do that kind of Old 99 treatment with these other signs somewhere in town. Now, there are complications with that too, regarding too much size, confusing drivers and stuff. But the idea was, the 47th parallel thing was considered to be kind of an adjunct to that project. So there would be other ways directionally from this roundabout site where that messaging is communicated. But there's limits to how much messaging you can do in the middle of a roundabout when people are having constantly to look to their right or their left or their left. If they're going around a circle at 20-25 miles an hour. What is the design speed for that? 15?
Usually roundabouts are like, I mean, obviously, there are cars, that's a
Except the teenager that goes over the edge.
Well, and that's another design criteria we have to look at is, you put that giant stone ball on top, we don't want somebody to run into it and get crushed in their car. So what's the protector that's around the roundabout
Yeah.
to stop people from hitting this?
I'm glad you brought that up because the carvers thought of putting just kind of sandstone bollards. Like you'd find out in front of an important building, so somebody doesn't drive through. Around the base of it, to exactly meet the contingency Chuck is alluding to, somebody driving into it once it's been installed.
Yeah, that is a challenging design component.
Okay.
It's highly based on like engineering judgment, designers, however, obviously, any barrier you place to stop a vehicle has to break away at a certain rate, depending on the speed.
Well, again, that was their idea, not ours, so I'm quite amenable to sacrificing that.
I mean, there's other ways to accomplish the same concept. I have to look at that one more because it isn't, to be honest, I mean, I've been a lot around about for many years. I haven't seen the barrier issue to be that high. I mean, there is always a chance that someone's gonna jump the roundabout, and just head right over the center. And that does occur. It has occurred in roundabouts before, in different places. I'm thinking in Tumwater area, but in other areas it has. So again, that would just be something that have to be looked at. And obviously you don't want to put like a guardrail around it or something that looks totally ugly. So you want something that's appealing but still serves the impact resistance component of it. And again, a designer can analyze that, but if that's made out of sandstone, it's gonna really be heavy.
So the idea of putting even sandstone boulders, just decoratively landscaped around the roundabout is not an acceptable idea.
It can be, I think, that's where it gets really challenging, because some places do that kind of stuff, and so you will see it around. Whether or not it's actually, standard practice, I would have to look at that a little bit and see. Right? But there are cases where, they put rocks in the middle of a roundabout and stuff, that obviously. So, but I think the other way to say what I'm saying is that I think there's a solution that could be both aesthetic and serve the purpose. It's just something the designer would have to research. And I'm sure there's
code related to that or some kind of direction from the governing body of roundabouts somewhere, right? Yeah,
There is a governing body in sorts for roundabouts, and it's different. Usually we design roundabouts for WashDOT or FHWA standards. But there's other groups that get together. There's roundabout experts that I consult.
Sure.
That have been doing this. That's all they do is roundabouts. This would be like a situation, like give one of those comments, situation. What do you guys could do?
Bill, if I read the email chain correctly, it seems as if the design considered the possibility of some unspecified element of a decorative nature, aesthetic nature being in the middle of these roundabouts. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, that was not a part of our original design.
Right.
Mostly because we didn't think we could accomplish the mission before we needed to build the roundabout. It'd be too hard to get through all the process. Because these are always, on every roundabout I've ever worked on, that's always takes a lot longer to figure out kind of about. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, the center of the roundabout was, the plan was to put something in there. The one thing to remember is that the reason why there are utilities there and the reason why there are utility casings and stuff in the roundabout is because there was no, I mean, from a financial standpoint, there was no way to like those are, those utilities are just there. So whatever we do, we have to accommodate the existing utility manhole covers and stuff that are there. It would have just been massively cost prohibitive to try to make that.
My concern is, Dave, is, okay, we have the marker in the middle of the roundabout. And maybe when initially you install it, people will know what it is because it'll be publicized, but 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, how would I know what in the Sam Hill that thing is in the middle of the roundabout? I'm gonna point out one, I think I'm correct on this, on Henderson Boulevard in Olympia, they have some columns sitting in the roundabout, and I believe the columns are from the Fourth Avenue Bridge, if I remember correctly. I hope I'm right on that. They're from someplace in Olympia. And every time I go by there, you wonder, where in the world did those things come from? Where do they represent and what have you? So my concern would be, how do we keep the public informed on what in the world that globe is and what is that line on top and what have you? And particularly if I go through a roundabout, going 15, 20 miles an hour, whatever, it still is a challenging aspect. I don't know if it, I don't know, if people would be able to read it while driving around it. The only maybe you could read it would be standing on the sidewalk with no access to the column. But the key for me is, how do you keep the public informed on what that big tall thing that I talked about in Capitol Boulevard?
And some of the historical markers that are around this area in Fisher County, or going out on highway, they have a historical marker site sign that's substantive metal. And then there's a place to pull in, and you get out and you read more detailed information. And so that's why I was thinking about, is there in proximity to the cul-de-sac, not in the cul-de-sac somewhere? I don't know. Just, it might get at your
Well,
question.
it could be, you could establish a sign, that you have like in, Tumwater Falls Park.
Yeah.
Along some sidewalk at some point. I don't know, I would have to drive around that roundabout again. I don't go through that very often, but it's different, it's challenged, because you got the little thing going here to the I-5, and I didn't want to go there, I want to go tonight, for an example, and it's been a while since I've been there. But I'm just concerned about how to inform the public what it is we're trying to inform them. I mean, that's why we're doing this, is to commemorate the fact that all these roads come to Tumwater or exit through or go through, and 47th parallel and what have you. But how do we inform the public what it is that they're seeing?
Could we start by proposing that the council make some announcement about it? And how far would
Are
that
they
be?
gonna announce that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now?
Longer term reminder of what the marker symbolizes. That is the issue.
I just, for giggles, Googled Tumwater, Washington City monuments. And all of them came up. I mean, many that I know and have been to. So like a visitor who might go, what is that? And then be on their way out the other thing could go Tumwater City Monuments.
Yeah.
And it'll bring up a picture of the thing. I mean, just the Schmidt Memorial in the Tumwater Park that we just talked about comes out, but I do many others, so just a thought.
I think that's helpful because what we're talking about in regard to the roundabout is not an interpretive marker of a sign. It's a monument.
Yeah.
Or a sculpture. And those, and you relate to those different than you do informational signage. I mean, I'll be flippant, but I've never been there. But I'm guessing that when you go to the Eiffel Tower, there's not a sign there that says this is the Eiffel Tower. Or the Leaning Tower of Pisa. There's not a sign that says this is the. Now, there's plenty of information you can find out about it, but you don't do that on the site of the monument, as you just demonstrated ably. There are other ways of getting the background, and the whole, I'm gonna use the word I don't really know the full meaning of, but the whole gestalt of what I'm talking about is that the information is readily accessible, requires no ongoing detailed infrastructure or staffing to maintain it.
Yeah.
In a sense, Marnie, it speaks for itself. unlike a museum or a road or a historic marker or something like that.
We develop all of Old 99 all the way to 903 Tumwater. And make it like a Route 66 idea, that becomes a famous thoroughfare and
Yes.
there's been all kinds of trails and roads over the past and you highlight and pull off the side of the road.
And Rob made a good point that there are many avenues for providing information about the marker and pictures of the marker in Chamber of Commerce brochures and tourists.
City websites.
Yeah, so maybe we don't need to do anything extra other than that.
I would throw in, and you may concur as a former teacher, that if I was a high school geography teacher and we had the 47 parallel in town, that'd be a great example of how that whole system is laid out and how it works.
Yeah.
And that should go on forever, if they still teach that in high school.
It's always fun having a test that you have this parallels that ever meet.
Yeah.
Catch the kids every time.
I got a quick comment and also a question, Dave. Comment is that I it is really interesting to have the actual images of the historical signs which used to exist carved into the bases of the monument. And I was trying to think of kind of chewing on what it could look like, and it seems like to make it so that drivers don't see them as wayfinding, you could just have some sort of a detail added to it, like some flowers or leaves, like maybe oak leaves, sort of engraved adjacent, almost like Greek look to it or something. Nothing too fancy, but
Like a meager oak or something.
Yeah, Gary.
Great idea.
yeah, hopefully.
Poison oak.
That's my 2 cents on that. I think it is important though to have the actual images there and nice and big.
Yeah, they've gotta be. I think, Bill, to address your concern, it's gonna be, isn't it, briefly? Whereas we might put those things on Don Shirt elsewhere on this, within the historic route format that you see in the upper right. So that people realize, like the historic Highway 99s that are out there now. So these others could be done perhaps in the same way. But that kind of signage, which is metallic, reflective, those are exactly the kinds of things you don't want, because they would confuse the public that there's some form of wayfinding when they're really not. They're historical resonance.
As long as you're large enough, a
Yes.
good 2x2 or something like
The
that.
fact that
would
they're
be
carved into stone as opposed to paint on a metallic.
easy enough to see, and then with the proposed other signage, the drivers should be possibly used to seeing it, so it won't be confusing. But just I wanted to throw in there that some detail could be considered to go along with it too, just to really make sure that nobody gets confused. And then my question is, how big is the globe?
We never quite got down, that would be the more complicated aspect of this. But those guys seemed unfazed about.
Right, I think it's worth pointing out that this isn't a one-piece monolith, like from 2001 or something. It's stacked with stone. So it would come in pieces and be put together. So really the sky's the limit on how big Bill will allow it to be.
That's a great point, Chuck, and I kind of skipped over that. By referring to that little model there, it suggests that there's only two pieces, the base and the globe. But in fact, it's kind of a Lego in sandstone.
And certain elements of it, this is, the city has a night sky ordinance, so we don't, when we put up except for the American flag, anytime we build something, a sign or something else, you can't have lights that shine up.
Except for the driving range.
Right, I knew I saw. So we're not lighting up the night sky, it's called the night sky ordinance, right? So.
You got fireworks on it for Dave
Fireworks.
Buchanan.
They violate the
That's
night
temporary. So the intent is that we need downlighting and everything. So this ledge provides an area that we could downlight this.
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that makes sense.
It also provides a drip edge so that we don't have water running down and.
Yeah,
sinking.
That's, yeah, that's on.
Yeah.
Which is also a key.
Yeah.
So, they, and I think David would concur, they could not be more excited, down in Dino about being able to work on something
Yeah.
like this.
Would it be fair to say that the next step would be for you to finesse whatever authorization you need to from the city? The mayor, the city administrator, to get the guys in Tenino to come up with an actual concept. We just literally took that off the shelf because we thought that was suggested. But the dimensions aren't exactly right, the faces aren't exactly right. But would that be have them come in, maybe present to us and Bill, just how they see pulling it all off?
Yeah, we could certainly do that. You have $10,000 in your fund in 2025 and again in 2026. I don't know if they.
2025 is almost over, we better go now.
Can we roll it over?
It is a 2-year budget, so it does come
Good
together
question.
if you don't spend it this year. Yeah, essentially I have $20,000. So I don't know that they would want any kind of payment to do some draft mock-ups of what it might be, but they might. We could enter into a simple contract with them to say, we want 3 design concepts done and then have you come to the commission and present.
Bill, what would you want them to address when they come in with a couple of drawings or mock-ups?
You know, I mean, it really doesn't matter that much. I mean, to me, as far as like, from an engineering perspective, I think, like I said, you can put something in the middle of it. Obviously, you don't want some ginormous,
No.
that's a little different animal, but if you're talking something about that size, I don't see it, I don't personally see an issue with it. I mean, I think you can go fairly high. It's about, something, I would imagine something like that at the base would be no more than, what, 8 feet by 8 feet, 5 feet by 5 feet, the base.
Yeah.
The base
Yeah.
is not gonna be.
I'm always, and I don't know about you, I am always shocked when I see a street light up close or a street sign up close are so much bigger than they appear when you're in your car.
Yeah.
So size wise, I wouldn't be the person to ask what's the appropriate.
I mean, it just seems to me like, that, like I said, if you look on Google, whatever, and look at like things inside of roundabouts, when you drive around, you'll see fantastical things that people put inside. So like the casino is a great example. It's a waterfall with a whale.
Okay.
They put all kinds of things in there, so I think you're not really, the only restriction you're gonna really have, I think, is gonna be just if it bleeds over into where those utilities are. Which I prefer we don't impact the utilities in there, but we haven't gone out and done measurements, so I mean, we could go out, I think we have the scent, we could definitely go out and find out what that diameter
Yeah,
is.
those Tenino guys could probably use that.
That clear zone, we can figure that out, so this is about the diameter you have to work with. And then kind of see if they can figure something out that fit within that diameter. I think it's big enough, it's big enough for you.
And Bill, I do recall it, I don't know if it was you, but one of your associates said that somebody made the comment in that thread. And this is actually counter to much of the dialogue to this point, but let me just say what it is, you can evaluate it. That having something in the center like that would actually be considered a traffic calming device rather than a traffic complication device. Am I interpreting that?
Yeah, that's because typically roundabouts are built up in the center enough to where you cannot see across. That's the whole concept, because you don't want people focusing on, when they're driving up to the roundabout, you don't want them really focusing on what's going on. So they need to be focused on where they're entering. And for pedestrians and for see.
Oh, yeah, so it would effectively create a screen or it would obscure their long view. Is that
Yeah,
by
I
getting?
mean, that's why a lot of times just roundabouts for the entire center of the roundabout is just trees. That's why that's okay to do, is because that's what you need to do.
I'm glad we don't have a statue of somebody like Jesse Ferguson pointing west.
So that's, in that sense, then the bigger the better, up to a point of reason.
But this, I think that, I guess what I'm saying is I don't see, there's no problem with putting something in there. But it's the issue with putting it in there. And then all the other peripheral things that come out of that, those are all solvable. Like I said, even the barrier issue, I don't personally think that it is an issue. But I am gonna look into it just to make sure that from an engineering standpoint, today, the roundabout design has changed considerably. I worked on some of the first roundabouts of Selma, Washington. Like, I worked on some of the first ones in that. So that design component has changed dramatically. So it's constantly evolving. That's why you see a lot of different roundabouts, that's it's evolving, designs evolving,
Getting bigger.
more complicated.
Wait till the one at Linwood and Second, Fourth goes in.
He's waiting.
Well, that's right in my neighborhood. I can't wait.
We call it the peanut about, and
Oh, yeah.
what do you call it?
Well, I switched it to the peanut because I couldn't stand calling it the blob about.
Yeah,
That was John Doe. John Doe
Yeah.
calling it about. I didn't like that. It made it sound kind of bad. Make the peanuts better.
so, okay, so I'm glad we clarified that. So height wise, if it's 8 feet or it's 12 feet, everything, that works for you.
But we intend to maximize.
Yeah.
Correct.
For visibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be big enough that it gets famous.
Yeah, yeah.
Notoriety.
Oh, the Eiffel Tower. No.
Bill, do you have an idea, would this fall under the sign code and be a sign permit, or would it be something else?
This is an RP, it's Chuck.
Yeah,
I don't think, I don't think that, I don't think it's considered. I wouldn't consider this.
I'm just imagining I can't get through this process without some kind of a permit.
There probably is a permit.
You've been with the city too long.
Yeah, okay,
I can cut it, yeah, I'll cut it. But I don't think, this, it's not intended to be used.
okay. So clarification, moving forward, if I understand you, and I'm not sure the whole board's on board. If I go forward and talk with the stone carvers, and have them come up with, say, three draft alternatives of their
Do you need a motion?
vision. Well, let me finish that and then you decide, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And then some ability for me to negotiate with them on a price, say less than $1,000, or price per hour for them to work on a very detailed mock-up of different ideas.
Marquette. We're gonna go for a lead.
So I guess that's what I'm asking. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what you would like to see? Yeah.
Do Marquette. But not, they wouldn't do it in stone, but they could do it in plaster.
Yeah.
And this is actually granite. So the sandstone that we're talking about is it's a much darker gray.
Well, I was so moved. We got an
I was gonna just get them, would be my recommendation. It seems to me we need to give approval from the historic commission to say, yes, this sounds like a worthwhile project. And maybe we need more information. We need the price, we need what it looks like. That's gonna be down the line. So what I was coming from the chair standpoint, I think the commission needs to make a decision on whether or not to pursue this project. So David, go ahead now.
Well, I make the motion to proceed with the project as preliminarily scoped in this discussion. The basis of Chuck's and my visit with tonight sandstone carvers. And then the next step be the ASDAC group and empower Chuck to negotiate an agreement with them to come in and provide us with some sketches, some maquettes. We'll leave the medium for discussion, what it might be. And the cost estimate as to what each of those different versions, if there are several, might cost.
Since I'm wearing the shirt, I'll second it. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
It's a great motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have a new project.
Sweet.
While Bill's here, should we discuss the other aspect of this?
Yeah, I don't want to put Bill on the spot because he was kind enough to come tonight, but if he's comfortable talking about other signage on 99. And just,
One side. There, the cost is two parts. It's one is the sculpture.
Yes,
Um,
then there's the installation site work.
yeah, so I think I would just keep that in mind that you have the sculpture, you have the, construction, placement and foundation. And then the civil part, which is adjustments to anything like the, get electrical out to it if you need it or whatever else. Irrigation or anything, I can help with all that. So I can put all that secondary part together for a cost. That way you have a nice inclusive full cost of what you look at. So you don't get surprised.
I don't get the sense, Chuck, that these guys, it's not like graphic design and throwing something up in CAD.
Yeah.
I see this as a 2 or 3 year project. By the time you design it, carve it, lay the groundwork, get a permit or two, install it. I mean, I don't see this as something that we would have done even by this time next year. I can't imagine that's possible.
no,
I can
2
consider
years
another
maybe.
whole budget cycle.
2 years, I would say. Funding wise, you have your $20,000 to direct wherever you want. That obviously won't be enough for this project, but we do have a somewhat sizable art fund within the Parks and Recreation Department that's not allocated currently to an art project in the city. That's a possibility. You can always ask the city council to allocate funds out of the general fund. And then I think there's some possibilities of getting funding either from businesses or somewhere in the community. Because people are really excited about this.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so should I ask Don to stand up again?
Don, what's more?
So Bill, you're familiar with the historic Highway 99 signs that have been put up in the last couple of years.
I'm glad you came tonight.
I don't know if I can
I
answer
thought
your
Dave was gonna
question.
wear this.
Go ahead and ask the question.
So-
If I don't know, I'll figure it out.
So there are 4 of them. There's one on the southern and northern border of the city on Capitol Boulevard, Old 99. And there's 2 on either side of the historic bridge that goes across the Deschutes River. So let's take the oldest of these, which is College, and in each of those cases, I believe, Chuck, existing street appurtenance infrastructure was already in place.
Is that a post?
Yes,
Okay. Yes.
light standards. I don't think there was nothing dug in the ground, sunk in concrete. They were all existing. And so imagine at the southern entrance to the city that you have above or below, that's to be decided. You have a version of that on the same standard vertical element that historic 99 is. And you have Pacific Highway, because the chronological order would be College Trail, Pacific Highway, Primary State Highway 1 and 99. Now, that might be a lot of signs. But when you go directional signage on the highway, like on Route 82 from Twin Falls to Boise, you come up to signs and they got US 22, 20, 30, I-82, they're all kind of on one side. Now, those people, you're driving 90, 85 miles an hour. But imagine a vertical array of these 4, because it's all the same road. The College Trail, Pacific Highway, Primary State Highway 1 and 99 are all the same corridor.
Mhm.
They're just different points in time.
Yeah.
And so that's now the more complicated question is, once you're into the depth of the city, where do any of these go? And I would propose, on either side of the oak tree, you put College Trail
Hmm.
signs. And you don't sign it again until you get down to Brewery Falls Park, because that's where the College Trail ends. So they show up again by the Red Pints Taps at the Pints Red Barn, what's that
Pints,
called?
yeah.
Pints. There's an I-5 northbound off-ramp, Pints, there's a little commercial district, Falls Terrace. You put one of these, kind of just trailblazers and, just into the driveway of the Brewery Falls Park. That's just the scheme. So that's 3, right?
Yes. So, as a matter,
Northbound.
as a matter of point, I don't mean to interrupt your discussion, but that logo is something you just made up, right?
Yes, well, yes, that's a proposal and that would need to be finalized. I'm in discussion with the city council about adapting this,
Okay.
about that.
And any thought of talking with the Cowards tribe about that?
Well, I was gonna raise a question about, do you mention Indigenous Trail? Because basically I was told that
What's the name of it?
that's a key question.
It's the College Trail.
Yeah.
I think that covers it.
Okay,
What is the picture in there?
That's the
Oh,
old
it's,
city
oh, I-
logo.
oh, yeah, look, in the boardroom.
Right.
Somewhere.
But it's an adapted version of the logo.
Oh.
yeah.
Because, I mean, a version of this is all over the city. It's all over.
There's a modern version.
This is an adapted version. It's intended to symbolize George Bush and his Isabella Bush. They
Yeah.
took the young girl out of the city logo because the Bushes had all boys.
Yeah.
The pioneer is an African American rather than a Caucasian. And that resonates deeply with Councilmember Jefferson.
Yeah.
She's really enthused about the idea of.
Yeah.
And with some exaggeration, the point I made to the city council and to you all. Tumwater exists in the time and place it came into its existence because of an African American fellow.
Yeah.
And that's the big. Or they would never have come here. Now, someone would have gotten here eventually, but it wouldn't have been Simmons and Bush.
Yeah.
And so that's the scheme.
Okay, my only concern being, I don't want to get down the road and have the Cowards tribal members come and say, well, why didn't you use our logo?
Oh.
It's our trail.
Oh.
Well, here's what I would say about that. It's called the Cowlitz Trail because it was the trail to the Cowlitz River from Puget Sound and vice versa.
Okay, not tribal related.
It was
Yeah.
not tribal related, but the tribe. I mean, certainly we can consult with them, but if we're gonna add another layer, another trail designation, I think you reach the straw that breaks the camel's back. How many signs can you put on a vertical pole?
Well, I've seen some that says, Utah this way, and then a whole bunch of signs, and it's way too much. But my concern is that it seems to me we need to consult, I don't know what the Native American history is. I do know the Cowlitz came from the Cowlitz River to Puget Sound as a tribal group, from what I understand. And I don't know where the Chehalis get mixed into this, or the Skookumchuck, or whatever it may be, whatever tribes, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to know. But it seems to me we need to be cognizant of that factor and check it out and see if we need to consider some kind of inclusion, I guess is what I'm saying.
I'm an agnostic on that question. I don't see the tribal interface in the question.
Yeah.
It's not tribal history that we're telling.
Yeah.
Could call it the Oregon Trail, which obviates the question altogether using that logo.
Yeah, and that's all another problem too, that
Because it's
the
not
Oregon
federal.
Trail ends with a wagon stop.
Right. So that's the idea, Bill, and you, primary state highway one, which was the predecessor to 99, but that would be really fun to do.
Yeah.
Is over on Second Avenue in the vicinity of the Michael T. Simmons School. Because as your surveyors for the Peanut Roundabout, is that what you called it, discovered? The oldest city maps refer to that alignment and right of way as primary state highway one
It was.
was.
Yeah.
And then it crossed back over down into Brewery Falls Park. Crossed over what is now the freeway and Deschutes Parkway into the falls. And 99's up, put College Trail on the tree. We should also put primary state highway one on either side of the lower Boston Street Bridge. Because that bridge was a part of primary state highway one. And it was straightened out when 99 was built in the 1930s. But, you know, there's a limit to how much of this we can do in one setting, but any initial reactions to this proposal, Bill?
There are two, so all the primary road signs. Primary road sign standards, so an I-5 sign is an I-5 sign, or whatever highway it is or roadway, so it's gonna have a standard. There's also a whole secondary range of signing. Signing is actually really complex in the big picture, it's a very complex concept. But there's this whole other range of signs that you can incorporate that are not road signs, but they're historical signs. A lot of times you'll see them will be brown or other colors. So there's nothing that precludes you just from a general standard point. There's nothing that precludes a person from taking a roadway and showing the historical name for it. Sometimes you'll see those together. You know, what you see in the world is always not like per standard, but it's just what somebody did. So that's actually what I teach my young engineers. But if you see it, it's not always correct. You know, you have to go back and look at the standards of what they are today. But there are ways to sign a roadway with multiple things. The sign confusion thing is an actual issue. If you try to put too many signs together, people cannot see them and they won't read them, or they'll get confused when they see too many signs on the road. So my suggestion would be leave the primary signs alone in the city. So any primary sign for any major road or whatever else, just leave those signs alone. If you're gonna do any historical signing, just make sure that they meet the current signing code for what they look like. And then it's just an issue of how many you want to put up and how many you handle.
Sort of the way,
that's what it was.
sort of the way the historic 99 signs are done.
Yeah.
They're bracketed by the brown. The brown is, that is that is from the manual,
Yeah.
is the brown sign, that's historic.
I think there's some other options, but generally usually see them. So I don't think, there's nothing that precludes a person from doing it. I think the only thing that to keep in mind is you don't want too many signs or to make it so confusing that someone would get confused. Because that's really what we look for. That's what I'm looking for on the project. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of times we're required to do a certain number of signs. Roundabouts are a great example. There's too many signs on roundabouts, but a lot of those are just standard signs you have to put in, just from, you know, those standards that we work with. So you want to kind of limit those signs a little bit. But it can be done. I think it requires somebody to sit down and look at the distance between the signs. Make sure there's conflicting signing. And that's what it can be done.
The city surveyor for the Peanut Roundabout also surveyed me and my neighbor's property, and here's a map. March 24th, 1936. And it shows present Pacific highways, you know, and it comes, here's the Boston Street configuration down here. So here's primary state highway one. That goes on up to the field. So how about, I'm going to make a motion that the commission designate myself and Don Trosper as a subcommittee to work with city staff to mark up a set of city highway charts regarding where, from a historical point of view, as opposed to design installation point of view. The several markers depicted on Don's t-shirt might be placed on the city street grid system to be represented back to this group at some future meeting. All we need from the city, is a series of maps that show Capitol Boulevard, Bonniewood, Second Avenue, Deschutes Way. We've got all we need.
Current map,
Yes,
With just a grid map.
something like this.
Yeah, we can get that up in GIS.
Then we can come back and Don and I can walk you through.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded on Dave's motion. Any discussion on the motion?
So that the discussion will include the old the historic official signs.
Yes,
Okay,
Calvert's Trail, Highway 1,
all four.
Pacific Highway. 99's already in place. We're not messing with 101 and 5.
Right there.
So it's just the historic routes. Top 3 on that Don's shirt there. Where some combination of those signs might be placed on the city street.
On the wooden, Boston Street Bridge before it became concrete. There was a speed limit for animals, horses, and they couldn't go any faster than a walk. So we can have a sign on it.
Wow.
Speed limit for cattle and horses.
I think walking speed is 2 miles.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, can we do that?
I don't have, no, I don't think they had signs for it. It was an ordinance, it was a Tumwater ordinance way back with, written in fountain pen.
If we can get those to Chuck, and Chuck, you can drop them off at the new Starbucks store and Don and I
Okay.
can go to work on the.
At least you'll have his main signs as the Pioneer Park.
yeah, that is in the works.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Project number 2 tonight. We have another item.
Yes, great discussion, and I did say at the start with, should you need to use the restroom, they are just outside of that door there, if you don't remember where that's at.
Okay, we are now on here, dealing with the Brower House, a certificate of appropriateness. Find it.
That's my neighborhood again. This is just up the hill from the peanut roundabout.
It's just peanut about.
Yes.
Peanut about, yeah. So this is the Brower House. These are photos that they submitted with their application for the certificate of appropriateness. We do have an expert on the certificate of appropriate language, and Commissioner DeCandre, who wrote, most of that, city code. I think there's a side picture as well that just barely shows. So what we're talking about is this deck and the front porch. They have requested a certificate of appropriateness to replace both the front porch and the second story deck with like materials. So it will look essentially the same. They do want to remove everything. It's rotten and falling down. They want to remove it and replace. They're hiring a professional contractor to do that. So they're doing some other things inside of the house, and that's all in the application, but that's not within the realm of the certificate of appropriateness. We're not doing what they do inside the house. And it was placed on the historic register for what the visual appearance is from the street and the age of the house. So visually, the house changing from the street.
Is currently, lived in.
I believe so.
Yes,
I noticed the applicant has a Blaine, Washington address and the contact person has a Chehalis address. I was just curious. It isn't the owners or the resident owners,
Right.
that applied. Or maybe it's just a house that they own.
And they didn't submit any historical pictures, is that,
No.
do we know if that's a original?
And I will take full blame for that. And I explained to Chair Shipley before the meeting started, where all of those original applications to be put on the historic register are still paper. They were at the brewmaster's house. And when the arson fire happened at the brewmaster's house, we dealt with that whole thing. Every item in the brewmaster's house went in a box, and was fumigated. Now everything's back in the house, but it's all still in boxes. So there's boxes stacked in every room of the house. And I went there 2 different occasions and tried to find the box that had the certificate of, or the historic register original application to it. They just haven't.
I drove by it tonight on the way here, and it kind of doesn't look like it's material from 1895. I would guess it's maybe made to look similar or previously appropriate. Do they have, I mean, their plan is to make it look identical?
To what it was,
To
or
what-
what it is, yeah. So it's a little bit convoluted when you look at all of the language of the certificate of appropriateness. For a property that's not within the historic district. A lot of that language is specific for, property within the historic district, which is, historical park, brewery park, or Tumwater Falls, that
But
brewery
this is
area.
on the city's register. Is
Right,
that
so
where
this
that- right.
single house by itself is on the city's historic register as a significant house.
Gotcha.
So in order to maybe make that less confusing, I pulled out this specific language of your review. That no person shall change the use, construction, or of any new building structure, or reconstruct, alter, restore, remodel, or repair, move, demolish existing property on the historic register without getting a certificate of appropriateness from this commission. So that's why it's in front of you tonight.
Chuck, I was confused by both the packet and what you said in introducing this topic. I appreciate the nod towards my authorship of the historic commercial zone, but I don't see the relevance to this property, which is so far from the historic district. So can you explain the
Is
nexus?
it on the historic register?
It is on the historic register.
But it's not in the historic commercial zone.
Correct.
Okay.
I actually, had some meetings with the new director of community development who oversees permitting, which would, in the end, is who's gonna issue the permit for this house project to happen. And said, hey, I'm having a little trouble because as I read the COA language, everything talks about the historic district and looking like 1845 to 1905. And I don't think that applies to this house because it's not in the district and it's not that age category. He came back with this,
Okay.
Tumwater Municipal Code that speaks to the need for the certificate.
By the way, there's a connection between this item and the previous discussion of the College Trail, because the last owners prior to the current owners who want to redevelop it was the McAllister family who accompanied the Bush and Simmons party to Tumwater in 1845.
McAllister's has settled in Nisqually.
The larger, yes, in the 19th century, but some of their
Yeah,
descendants,
yeah.
they saw the wisdom of moving from Nisqually to Tumwater.
Yes.
That neighborhood in particular.
Okay, so the purpose of this is that the house is on the historic register. And if they make changes to the house, then it needs to go through the historic commission to see if their changes are going to reflect the historical character of the original house.
Well said, yes.
Is that basically it?
Mhm.
And do you need a motion from us?
Yes.
To approve it?
I, just a second.
Yeah,
The problem, and the reason why I asked Dave about, because I too went by the house this evening before I came here. And it's unfortunate we don't know what the house looked like in 1905. And I don't know if we can maybe delay this and Chuck, maybe we could go through the county assessor's office and look for county assessor photographs of the house over the years. I don't know if we can do that or not. But I really have a problem because I don't know what the house looked like originally. My philosophy, anytime a house is going to be changed in some way, is that if it changes, will the original architect and the original first owner recognize their house after the changes in 2025? And that's always been my criteria, and I can't decide whether it's going to be okay because I don't know what it looked like originally. I'm going to make the assumption that it probably looked very similar to what you have in the current photograph that you had up on the screen. It's probably not going to be much different. Maybe the wood would be different instead of oak is, fir or vice versa. But that's one of the problems I have with discussion is knowing what the house was originally.
I agree. Maybe some of you know, I also sit, I own a home on the register in Hoquiam, and I also sit on the same body in Hoquiam. And we just had a developer in downtown Hoquiam plow right through our commission and do whatever they want to do. A very historic building in downtown Hoquiam. So it makes me believe, hyperventilate to not see exactly what they're gonna do. And I hate to hold up anybody's building permit
Yeah.
for any reason at all. But I would really like to see maybe a sketch, like, is it gonna look like that? Is that what it looked like are we 1895, 1905?
But
No.
I'd just like to be pragmatic for just a second. If this house has looked like this for maybe the last 40 or 50 years.
It has looked
And
very
it is
50 anyway.
at least 50. And it's designated on the historical register. All they're asking for is to take a porch and a back part of the house and make it so it's not rotten and falling down. Using the same materials that it's had for 50 years. So, I mean, I really understand and appreciate the points that you guys make about it would really be nice to know what it looked like originally when it was originally put on the register. But would we be imposing then some design changes to what they currently have to make it look like that? Not really. What would you do with that?
Well, the problem, go back to what will they end up with?
Exactly like that, except better, lot more,
Not rotted.
Yeah.
not rotting
Fall through it,
materials.
yeah.
So, I mean, that is simplistic to me, but
I had no problems with them putting in a house exactly like that. Example I'll use is there was a Wallop house on Phones Road that any house made by Wallop automatically will be on the register. But it was not put on the register in the Olympia Heritage Commission because they changed the house. The front porch has changed, the garage has changed, what have you. I don't think they'll do that here. I don't think they'll change it that much that it will not be recognizable to the people back in 1905 or 1925. Chuck, I saw your hand. Go for it.
I would tell you, the city didn't start doing houses on a historic register until probably mid-80s, 90. Yeah, so this house hasn't changed since it was put on the historic register. So
Okay.
whatever qualified it to be on the register at that time is what it looks like today, only just in worse shape. So
Yeah.
like for like additionally,
Okay.
and you can do whatever you want. And I appreciate your comments about holding up someone that's trying to hire a contractor to do something to their house. That there are conditions that you can issue in the approval that you sign from the commission. So conditions of approval are, and if you want to have me come up with some language that speaks to the fact that it needs to look exactly like it looks like today, as a reason it's on the historic register, we can add that, and that will be a part of their permit.
Okay.
I'm ready to propose that. I've already written that language.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
I've already written the provisos.
Why don't you make a motion?
Yeah.
I move we approve the application contingent upon the applicant providing photo documentation of greater than 50 years finished, that's what it looks like. And a sketch from the contractor of the proposed work.
I'll second that.
Well,
Andy, just
and
go
just a
ahead.
question, I'm assuming that this owner hasn't been in the house that long, I don't know. Would it, would it be difficult for them to find a 50-year-old photograph of this house? Or is the only
County
place that,
assessor.
is the only place that it might reside in the boxes of papers that Chuck was talking about that aren't organized and may be
I would
difficult
imagine
to,
it'll be in the county assessors, at least every time I looked up,
they have a picture?
oh, yeah. Yeah, I would assume the county assessor would have it. No guarantee on that, but I would
You think
assume.
it's a re-
I've seen set pictures all the way back to 1935. I see, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think that proposal does reflect the diligence we're supposed to put into it. I mean, in the language of part of the ordinance included here, development regulations, where we shall review all plans, elevations made by the applicants that's deemed necessary.
That doesn't actually apply to this.
Okay.
That was the point I was raising.
Gotcha.
That's down in the historic district down by the river.
Gotcha, but it does seem appropriate though, I mean, for our purpose, which is basically posterity and historic preservation, to know what it used to look like in case there's an opportunity for us to interject. Now, whether or not we're comfortable doing that and holding up the project, I mean, whether it's dangerous or what, I'm not sure. It doesn't look horrible in the picture, but I know what a squeaky rotten deck is like, and it's a real hassle. So,
By providing an older photograph of what the house looked like when it was put on the register, it would incorporate into the records of today when we approve it, when and if we approve the certificate of appropriateness
that's,
for future.
that's right.
But we're delaying the project that you had concerns about.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't delay it, but I would condition it.
That's how Dave's written the motion. I
Yeah.
understand, as I understand it, yeah.
So whether or not.
Go ahead, but also provide us this.
Whether or not that's what it used to look like when it was first constructed is moved at this point, then just to have redone as is, but then to also just do us a favor and you provide the documentation for those.
I feel like I've just seen so many beautiful homes like that ruined with then perforated, pressure treated wood and 2x2s. And I mean, just a very stock look that, I mean, I wouldn't like white vinyl windows in that either, you know, like, I mean, that just isn't appropriate. So I just want to get it right.
I would amend my motion, but it talks about contract, second item, contractor sketch and description of materials.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Any further discussion? Did I get a second?
Chuck's got it.
I was.
Okay, I'm sorry, didn't catch it. Okay, it's been moved and seconded on Dave's motion. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Project 3. For somebody else in this case. Chuck?
So I'm a bit confused. So your motion is to approve the certificate of appropriateness with stipulation. Yes,
Yes,
but the stipulation is we want to see the construction documents and materials. Is that,
Not constructing, a contractor's sketch.
well, yeah,
And description of materials.
right. But if we don't agree with his proposal, our recourse then is what if we've already
Well,
approved?
they're gonna have to submit it for subsequent review. We're gonna have to have another meeting. So, but then,
The impression I had was that the project sounds great, but we need to see what the project is going to entail, and what it's going to end up looking like, and what material is going to be used.
well, what I heard Dave
That-
say is that we would approve the certificate of appropriateness so that they can move forward with the project, but it's contingent on them submitting the material, the
Okay.
documents that we
Yeah.
ask.
There you go.
Which means
Photographic,
that they can be done concurrently.
yes,
We receive them, we review it at an additional meeting.
might not even require a meeting. You can authorize staff just to act administratively. That's a photographic evidence of greater than 50 years vintage.
Even though the house was placed on the register
Yeah.
in 1995
Does
based
not-
on what it
does
was
not
like.
the application have a photographic?
It's in a
Evidence.
box in the,
Yeah, in the box somewhere in the museum, brewmaster's house, but it doesn't necessarily have a photograph with it.
Is there not a copy of that at the Office of Archaeology and Historic Preservation?
So,
Is it the city register? Is it the national register?
city register.
City register only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can look.
There's a city library, state archives, there's the assessor's records. I'm actually exactly where you are, Marty, but it seemed we were at potential impasse. I was looking for some kind of middle road that give the applicant encouragement. This was likely to happen, but you've got to do a couple of things to put everyone's mind at ease.
Okay,
everything clear on that?
yes, who made the second? Ron?
Ron.
Thank you.
I think somebody else thinks it, yeah, correct, yeah. Okay. We are on item number 8, which is the 2025 department project updates. It's this page here. Says, October, it simply says 2025 department project updates. Information discussion item regarding project within the city and a potential project with Tenino Historical Society. You want me to read the rest of it to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Background, there are a number of projects scheduled to occur in the 2025 biennium, 26 biennium that could impact or provide opportunity for the commission. Staff will be providing information on upcoming
Yeah.
park and trail. I'm not done yet.
Okay.
And trail construction, Crosby House improvement, Brewmaster's House completion, the relocation of the Parks and Recreation Office, and acquisition of the lot property in Tumwater Valley. I underlined all that just to make sure that you've covered all of them.
Very good. Okay, yeah, this, and this shouldn't take too long, but you can have as many questions as you like. I just wanted to update you kind of in a general sense on what's going on as part of the bigger picture of what we're doing. Starting with the Crosby House, we have completed the reconstruction, replacement of the foundation underneath the Crosby House. The goal there was to lock the house in place. Yeah, I think you're all right. It has a lot of vibration from I-5, and the house is constantly shifting and moving, and even to the point where the wallpaper is tearing between the ceiling and walls. There's that much movement in the house. Part of that was due to the fact that the foundation was somewhat failing under the house, a lot of wood rot going on there. So we dug out under the house, whole new foundation, perimeter foundation, and post and pier and post pilings, connections underneath, earthquake, hurricane straps. The house is tied down and hopefully held in place. The goal wasn't to level the house perfectly and make it exactly like it should have been if it was constructed today. We just stopped it from moving right where it was. So there's still a little bit of a lean in the kitchen and maybe you feel a little bit upstairs in one of the bedrooms. But we think we were successful in doing what we wanted to do with the house. The next steps at that house are a new roof, a new shape roof, gutters, which it doesn't currently have, which led to water going under the house and causing some of our foundation problems. And then some new siding. Our park staff will be working there to clean up the flower beds. The daughters are at the point where they don't feel they can continue to maintain rose beds and things like that there, so we're gonna help them out and take some of that over.
Are they still active though?
They are. As far as the brewmaster's house goes, that house is on hold. We've had a couple of meetings there, meetings with the daughters. You know, we've cleared out the front room and hosted them there while the Crosby house was under construction. But other than that, the house is in fantastic shape inside, as everything is brand new. And the floors will be redone, and you're well aware of the wallpaper project. So that is how it sits, and
Dave was an expert on the work.
it was a highlight for Dave. I'd be very frank, and I've been very honest with the mayor and the city council that I do not have time to play host at the brewmaster's house. Nor do I have time to go through all of those boxes or staff to put everything back where it goes within the house. So until we come up with a plan of what is gonna happen at that house, it's gonna sit just like it is. Down the list, I think you're aware that the Parks and Recreation Office has moved. Have I told you that?
Yeah, you need to talk about a building.
Talk about what?
You need to talk about a State Department building. That's a relocation place.
Oh,
Department of Transportation.
the Department of Transportation used the building during COVID. It's a Kaufman building, 821 Airport Court. It's across the street from the airport. It looks very similar to a police compound from the outside, with a very large parking lot and a chain link fence with barbed wire on top. But inside, I think we've done a great job of turning it into a very usable office space. And at some point, once IT gets this kind of a system installed there, we'll host these meetings at that building, because we have room for that there. And you're welcome to stop by at any time and check
What
it
about
out.
the historic building, the old one? Department of Transportation building?
Oh,
An old 99
Yeah.
public state highway one.
do I have community center on here? We are in the process of designing a community center, and that's a project that was funded through the Metropolitan Park District. We're down to 2 sites that we're looking at to do that. One is the former DOT site on Capitol, and one is a site that's on port property. As a part of that, we're going through cleanup of the DOT site and how that could become a building site for something, and whether it's the community center or it's some kind of mixed use development in the city. Great location for either of those things, but the site is contaminated with a variety of things. It's been DOT since 1930, so there are a variety of issues there. Nothing that we think at this point is going to like push it into a Superfund site. It's not that bad, and it is. We do have the ability to clean it up.
Was that where some of the DOT trucks and the cars were fueled?
Yes, there were multiple fueling spots there. And a number of other things. So a testing lab, which was a big source of contaminants. DOT is planning on tearing down all those buildings that are there. Dave, I know you were interested in the kind of the front building that has kind of that Art Deco.
What I would like to encourage would be, obviously you can't, my wife had to remind me that you can't save every historic building.
Right.
I agree with that. What I would encourage would be get whatever old photographs you can of the building of its past back to the 1930s. Maybe in whatever new construction goes onto the property side, incorporate them on the walls or whatever to commemorate the fact that there needs to be a fantastic building located there because of age and contamination and lack of care, we had to tear it down. But I think we should dig be a pictorial history of it and hopefully get DOT to help you out on that, because I'm sure they have photographs of the building in operation. That's what I would, and I'm not trying to save the building because you already indicated it is in really bad shape,
It is.
which is not surprising. So what I would like to do is commemorate the former building
Okay,
that we no longer have.
okay.
It's kind of like a picture of the old Capitol building or something like that.
Okay, understood. And then the last thing on my list is the lot property. The city has purchased, the parking lots in the valley that used to be the brewery site. Not the main brewery warehouse building, but the parking lots, that are behind the driving range, at the golf course.
Like where we park for fireworks.
Fireworks and 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Lot purchased those, several years ago, thinking that they needed to do a new satellite treatment plant, to serve Tumwater, South County. And then as they did more studies after purchasing the property, they decided they didn't need it. So they wanted to surplus it. We had right of first refusal to go in and purchase it, so, we worked out an agreement with them to purchase it, over several years, and we closed on that, on Tuesday. So,
What is the eastern limit of that property acquisition?
it's, about the base of the hill. Do you know where the
It
can?
also crosses the railroad tracks.
Yeah, there's actually more land on the other side of the railroad tracks than there is on the west side.
Interesting.
So it's railroad tracks to the base of the hill, the old can building, which is the most southern building, that's in there. And then, there's another cinder block building that's somewhat smaller, and then there's a warehouse that's just like a metal pole barn warehouse. So we have, those three buildings are in the purchase,
But not the big warehouse.
but not the big warehouse, that's still owned by Patel. Also in the purchase on the west side is the old power steam plant, building, which needs to be torn down and will be torn down at some point.
Is the extension of the county trail system then a part of this property agreement?
City trail system does not go onto this property. It's on the other side of the river. You know, should we, we'll go through a whole planning process about what that property is going to be. But should it become partial park property, we'll provide a pedestrian access to that site. So, number of issues, of course, with that property. One, we don't know exactly what we're doing with it. There are no utilities in the valley anymore, so any kind of building would require a pretty large investment in infrastructure. There are issues with the railroad. There's no railroad crossing. There's no easement to cross the railroad tracks.
Does
So-
the brewery have one?
No.
Wow.
So, but since the brewery was a railroad business,
They
they didn't
have
have,
some.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, and then yet to be determined is what Patel does with the large warehouse building, and if he sells that or he wants to develop that, or he's gonna continue to just do nothing.
You mentioned a partnership project with Tenino Possibilities. Is there?
That was something that came from you.
Another one of my brainstorms.
Oh, good.
That's my continental divide idea.
Oh, okay, good.
A marker denoting when you enter or exit the Puget Sound watershed. This was a brainstorm I got the day Chuck and I went down to meet with the carvers. And it's just in discussion now. I'm in dialogue with Jessica Reeves, the woman who's the head of the South Thurston County Historical Society. So that's just kind of a research item, nothing really to report on at this point. Another easily accessible roadside history / geography.
For the area?
No, he did
He
not.
did not, okay. How about George Vancouver?
No,
No?
it came close.
And Lewis and Clark? No, Lewis and Clark? Okay.
Vancouver, they got pretty close to where we are.
Really?
Yeah, see, they're across the front of us now, Bud Inlet,
Oh, interesting.
out on Dana
I
Passage.
didn't know he came in that far.
Yeah.
Okay, we are to number 9, I believe. Olympia Tumwater Foundation update.
I'm gonna start that by saying, Bill, you would not be seen as rude if you wanna skedaddle out of here.
Yeah, you probably could have done that.
I get words for it.
Bill, you don't wanna miss this.
I don't wanna miss it.
No, you're good, I'm kidding.
The Mariners are losing 8-2, so
Oh.
there's no need to rush home.
Oh,
Yeah.
Very good.
Do you wanna control the clicker? So, we are fortunate to have Todd Cutts here tonight. Todd is Executive Director of the Olympia Tumwater Foundation, and doing some exciting things both with us and
That you brought in the
the
trail.
foundation. And he's here to give you an update kind of on, well, maybe we'll do a quick,
We need to do a potty break.
okay?
Bill, thank you for your input.
Yeah, no, it was fun.
Oh.
I can get a different thing
Gosford?
other than what I work on.
Stand up one more time. Oh. Somebody got a break here. Suck it in, okay?
No, shoot.
I'm not gonna get your face, because I couldn't care less about your face.
Okay.
Okay,
What about the back? You don't need the back.
okay, since I'm here, might as well. Did you wash behind your ears?
Yeah.
Okay.
No worries, sir. It was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Precious.
I better stop wearing a shirt.
Thank you for that.
Oh, supposedly gonna pitch sometime during the game five.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah,
it's gonna
yeah.
start, and it's gonna be limited to 50-50.
Right.
But you might
Fresh
be-
is the start.
That's what I had very good last, yeah.
I'm sure glad you stayed up past your bedtime. For us.
I wouldn't miss all the interesting information I learned.
Actually, we accomplished quite a bit tonight, a lot of stuff.
This is an action-packed agenda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years worth of stuff.
What do you think?
Years worth of stuff, just a thing.
All compressed.
Okay, I think we're all back together again. Chuck, who in the world is this guy?
It's take 2.
Yes, happy to have Todd Cutts, Executive Director of the Olympia Tumwater Foundation here tonight. He does a lot of stuff with us and he's doing some great stuff at the foundation and at the park and the Schmidt House. So I thought it was about time that he'd been here long enough now that he'd come and talk with you and tell you all about all the great things that he's doing and that the foundation's doing. And then how we can work together in the future on stuff. So he's got a presentation for you and I'm sure just ready for questions.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Launched, okay. So been in the position since mid-December. And just wanted to share with you what we've been up to. So I think we just go right through it. So I've been administering nonprofits now for almost 10 years, I guess. I was the executive director of Olympia Downtown Alliance for 8 years before this. And kind of got my chops in strategic planning, which is one of the first things we did. I was city manager for the city of SeaTac for 6 years before that. So the city manager before that came up through the economic development ranks. So kind of straddled the public and private sector. But one of the things I've learned is strong organization needs a strong strategic plan. And that really starts with listening to your stakeholders. And our stakeholders are obviously our board of directors. So started with doing some listening really. So understanding what our strengths, weaknesses were, where our opportunities lie, where the threats were, interviewed each of our board members, and then came together for a retreat that we developed a strategic plan, which is really the North Star of the organization for us and the direction we're headed. So the vision, as you see here, and the challenge for the board was, this is supposed to be aspirational. So it's 2050. Who are we as an organization? What are we doing? So the foundation hosts premier gathering places in the Pacific Northwest where community members and visitors experience and enjoy natural beauty in a rich and diverse historic setting. Some would argue we're there right now in terms of that vision, but I think we have work to do to continue to improve on that. Mission, which is what we do and how we do it, really starts with the clause that you see there, honoring the Schmidt family legacy. So that resonates with everything we do, and we run everything we do through that filter. Our mission is to create generational memories, promote overall well-being, provide inspiration for community members and visitors alike through education, preservation, and enhancement of the area's natural and historic environment. So those are the underpinnings of what we do. And then we went through exercises to get us to what are our goals or strategic priorities organizationally, and all of those things should align with our mission and our vision, with that vision as the North Star, and everything we do should be pointing towards that. So those goals, as you see them there, preservation champion, which I know is near and dear to your heart. Looking forward to working with you all as we really try to become that preservation champion for the community, keep driving that direction. And I know we've had folks that have done that work for a long time for the foundation. Don's done great work for us over the years. Karen Johnson is doing great work now. So we want to lead the charge to invest in natural and historic spaces. We want to engage the community. We want them to enjoy those spaces. So heard a lot of that conversation amongst commissioners tonight. Steward of natural beauty. So we want to enhance and maintain Brewery Park at Tumwater Falls. We want to make sure it remains vibrant. We want to welcome our community. We want it to be enjoyable for all. Redevelopment advocate. So that's something new. When I talk to our board members, it comes up a lot, and certainly in early conversations about the foundation doing a three-legged stool. Park is the scholarship fund. One of the things that we stare at, no matter where we are on our properties, whether it's the park or the Schmidt House, is the brewery. And if we are serious about honoring the legacy of the Schmidt family, the board aligned around, we need to get engaged around brewery development and what's going on with it. So as you see there, honor the legacy of the Schmidt family and Olympic Brewing. We want to activate, we want to be engaged. When we talk about that brewery property redevelopment, we want to be an education enrichment leader. So we've been doing that a long time through our scholarship fund and through our early learning grant programs. We've added a component to this goal, which is really externally working with the community, educate the community about both natural environment and historic environment of the Tumwater community. And the last is really more of an internal measure, organizational health and sustainability. We want to advance plans for long and near-term organizational development and also financial sustainability. So one of the first things we did when we formed the strategic plan was to form committees around each one of those strategic priorities. So we have 5 committees. We've got our executive committee, which deals with that organizational and financial piece that we're working through. The park committee, so the steward of natural beauty, education, preservation, and brewery redevelopment. I'm going to share with you some of the work that each one of those done to date. So the way that I've kind of massaged committee work through the years and refined what our committees do. So meeting 1 was really level setting, brainstorming with the committee about projects, programs, initiatives that they might be interested in taking on, all with an eye towards achieving that goal that committee is charged with. Meeting 2 is prioritizing those items in a work plan for that committee. And meeting 3 is discussing timelines and what the implementation strategies are, really focusing on high priority items for us. What I've learned in nonprofit development is typically we don't have a lot in the way of resources. So we want to leverage those resources as much as possible and squeeze as much as we can out of them. So where we're looking to be is high impact area, low resources. We don't want to be in low impact, high resources. So we have that conversation at the committee level to make sure anything we're doing, projects that we're taking on fits within that mold. Subsequent meetings, oversight and insight of high priority items. So what we ask of our committee members who are busy, successful people out in the world, is that they give us an hour a month. And they're focused at our committee meetings to help us kind of guide the direction of those projects and programs that we're taking on and that they prioritize for us to take on staff. So the first goal that I'll share with you is steward of natural beauty. This is our park committee. Our park committee has gotten farther so far than any other committees in terms of work plan development. They've prioritized their work plan. We've developed implementation strategies, and we're forging ahead with some of the work that they're doing right now. So first is the History Nature Center. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Anything that we do on a daily basis and that we are prioritizing, we want to land on the work plan, even if it's just stuff we do on a daily basis, because if it's not on the work plan, we're not doing it. So park maintenance and management. Some of you may know Jose Guzman Martinez, call him the mayor of Tumwater Falls. So he's been doing it for 12 years now, I think, and knows that park backwards and forwards. So he does a great job for us in that regard. Bowen Foundation projects. So we had a 2-year agreement that turned out October 11th. So we spent the money that they gave us for that. We did recently make a proposal for additional resources, and we were granted additional resources, financial resources for the next 2 years. Really excited about that. It's kind of late breaking news. So we're looking at more trail maintenance there. We'll be doing some trail stabilization. We'll be putting up some railings around the park and the loop trail. Landscape restoration and beautification. A lot of that is native species, putting more native species in the park and removing non-native invasive species, ivy in particular, which is a challenge in the park. Got a bid recently to eradicate the ivy in the park for $130,000. So a lot of money goes into it, a lot of steep grades there as well.
The people that were removing your ivy was absolutely a delightful group to talk to.
The Washington Conservation Corps, maybe?
Yes,
Yes, yeah.
very, very delightful.
Yeah. They'll be coming in again this next year too.
Okay,
So that's that.
hardworking.
Yeah, great job training program. Bridge inspection and repair. So obviously public safety issue. We want to make sure the public is safe. We do that every 2 years, and so far it's just been kind of nickel and dime. And when I say nickel and dime, I mean like $25,000 worth of maintenance on the bridges, but things add up in parks, right, Chuck?
Yeah. Right.
Water feature repair, so our waterfalls, those aren't failing, but they do need some repair and kind of maintenance, the wear and tear over the years, so that'll be included as well. Excited about our partnership with the city in the park. This lodging tax is funding some new projects for us. So an overhaul of our interpretive signage program. So the park committee is taking that on. Along with that, really, and kind of families with that, is a really statement piece, an entry piece into the park and the trail system of the park. Additional benches on the trail, replacement of park picnic tables, and enhancements to the park plaza, in addition to Flagstone area in front of the administrative office building there. We are also having conversations, and in the next few months, we'll be unveiling a Friends of the Falls campaign. I'm sure you're all familiar with Friends of the Parks campaign. And that's in an effort really to help talk about financial sustainability for the organization, but diversifying revenue sources for us. So History Nature Center. Come a long way with the History Nature Center. You all have more history with the History Nature Center than I do. At one point in time, it was a $13.5 million project, and it was $8.5 million project, and it was a $5.5 million project. When I came into the job, we had an ask to the legislature for $2.5 million. We were not granted money. So we went back to the drawing board. We have roughly $2.5 million secured. The question was, is there a viable project with that amount of money plus whatever we can fundraise? And so we talked about what we're comfortable fundraising for. That's likely around $1 million. So we did a capacity study a few years ago, and that's what showed us in the community that, you know, may be viable to raise. So we'll be, so had that conversation, brought back to the board, and they asked us then to develop really some kind of just pretty fundamental massing plans, floor plans, for the building to understand if there's a viable project for $3.5 million. So we had an architect do some work on that, and what we found was what you're looking at there, which you can't see from where you're sitting, but essentially it's a 1,300 square foot history and nature center. It's a flex space that we would use for both historic exhibits and classroom space, likely K through 5 students coming through. Obviously, the same life cycle would be front and center on that. I expect as well that it could be pretty valuable meeting space for community groups, state agencies, business entities, that sort of thing. Certainly help to bring in revenue for the History and Nature Center and support the operations of it. What you see there are 10 rounds tables, 8 seats apiece. So that's 80 people with that configuration. We've talked about having roll-up doors, so inside-outside space. So in terms of the real estate for a meeting and a meeting rental, pretty cool space to come into. A lot of interest. Got offices in the back. So my office and our project manager's office would be located currently to where the shop is. The shop would go off-site. Talking about what that means and what that looks like. That's certainly on the docket as well. The restrooms don't change, so that stays the same. I am aware that this committee will play a big role in the certificate of appropriateness for this building in this historic district. So I've made sure our architect is aware of that as well. So when we're ready, we'll come into you.
What about a gift shop?
That was just gonna say that. Where's the gift shop?
Visitors coming to the park and they're really frustrated that that's not open.
Yeah. So I expect that we'll probably be able to carve out a corner for some gifts in the gift shop. But you know, it's limited square footage. Once upon a time, I think it was a tasting room and a restaurant and meeting rooms and conference facilities and the whole thing. So as it shrinks down, there's less real estate for other uses. So primary use will be that, but I do expect we'll have some.
Maybe the
The
bench.
joke I have with my wife is that every exit goes through the gift shop, like the zoos or museums or whatever. All exits through the.
Oh,
gift
right,
shop.
yes, good, okay. You can come to the planning meeting.
Maybe a vending machine with some stickers and a couple books, keychains.
Yeah, we've got some great swag now. So
Yeah.
we're selling it all
Yeah.
online right now. I am the only staff member in there. I found between trying to actually get work done, take meetings, and people coming in and out, pretty tough to conduct this stuff. So all that stuff is online. We do ship those the gift items out now. You can pick them up at the shop after you buy them online. But I think what the game plan from a staffing perspective will be probably hiring a staffing member, but also heavily leaning on volunteers that we would cull through that Friends of the Falls campaign, which, you know, the idea would be to bring revenue, but also volunteer resources.
I have a question where your 10 tables are located. I think it was 10.
Mhm.
Are those windows facing the waterfalls or is
They
that
are. Yep.
openness?
So you're looking, this direction is the Deschutes River in the falls.
Okay.
Mhm.
And those are windows?
Well, again, you know, very preliminary design. The preliminary design showed those being 4 roll-up doors. So in the summer months, you'd open up those doors and people could come out and in and out of the History and Nature Center. You could hold events there and it could be an indoor-outdoor event. We've talked about a roof over that space as well for the plaza space. So, but
Now, when you say plaza space, in relationship to that drawing, where's the plaza?
to the top of the slide.
On the top of it?
essentially. Yes, yep,
Okay.
just right outside of that. So walking, we have the Flagstone Plaza with the knee-high
Yeah.
wall there. That area.
Okay.
Okay. questions about History and Nature Center? All right. So educational enrichment leader, we have developed a work plan for that. So we've prioritized items. Obviously, we're going to keep doing our college scholarship fund, doing that for years, given out, I think at this point, $6 million. We give away about $105,000 a year, give out 20 scholarships to local high school kids this year. We also have a early learning grant program at $10,000 a year. There is a Tumwater Youth Music program that is included in that as well. A component of the History and Nature Center that the Education Committee will have purview over is a plan for how we program the History and Nature Center, what the curriculum looks like with that. So building the plane while we're flying a little bit here in terms of building that plan, what that looks like, how we're going to program it, fundraising, design, all those things that we're moving forward and, you know, trying to be thoughtful about how we stage that effort. Riverwalk tours, which Dawn knows very well and leads for us, certainly continue those. We have had conversations about, are there other tours that could take place there? Are there more natural tours that could take place there? We've had conversations. We have a new board member, Jeremy Walls, who's a Squaxin Island tribal council member, potentially about partnering with Squaxin Island Tribe to help us with some tours as well. So we're going to start probably in the new year planning for what are other tours in addition to the good work Dawn does that we could put together from a plan.
And tourism oriented with the local history, and we have such a valuable jewel there to draw people and want to really enhance that. So I'm in favor of gift shops and riverwalk tours and programs like that. Not just education, but entertainment and really promoting Tumwater as a historic site.
I agree. Enhance educational content for communication platforms. That's a long way of saying we need to improve our content on our social media channels, our newsletter, that sort of thing. Met with staff this week, and we already have a lot of staff resources that are doing things. So, you know, simple thing for Jose is when you're out there, take pictures because people like to see the falls, what's going on, the seasonal changes. He's apparently has 2-3 otter families up and down the river that he keeps track of. Take a video of those. So that sort of thing that people love to see. So look for more of that content on our social media channels. Redevelopment advocate. So this is brewery redevelopment. This committee has yet to be formed, but working on it. So obviously, given our standing in the situation as an adjacent property owner and a stakeholder in the area, with the Schmidt family having built the brewery and started the foundation, we're working to develop our positions and what our plan would be to support feasible redevelopment opportunities at the site. We will be participating in the city's planned action environmental impact statement process, and we'll be seeking partnerships with the city and other relevant community organizations. Right now, we're having a conversation with the Thurston Economic Development Council about how do we work together, how do we align for good development at the brewery site. And then, you know, historically, one of our roles in the community has been as a community partner, and I think we do have a lot of trust in them. So how can we help to involve the community, engage the community in this process? Do we bring them into the park as part of the planned action EAS process? Do we invite the public into the Schmidt House for design charrettes? That's organizational health and sustainability. So this is I geek out on this stuff, but kind of the boring underneath the hood organizational stuff. So executing the strategic plan, making sure that the community understands what we do, and commissions like yourself and community groups, Rotaries, Kiwanis, that sort of thing, understand what we do in the community and where we're going as an organization. We've refined our staffing plan. So different staffing plan. We've got a project manager that we're working with now. Obviously, Karen is still on staff and doing a great job as the curator of the Schmidt House, who is overdoing the caretaking of the Schmidt House and the park site. So always seeking process improvements within the organization. So how we do things, how we can be efficient, with the resources like we talked about earlier. And then looking at diversifying revenue sources, I was looking over the meeting minutes from last year when John was here, and we talked about kind of where we get our money from, and it's been primarily from our investment corpus and the yield off of that investment over the years. And that's great. It's great that we have that. But one of the things when the board brought me in that they emphasized was we need to diversify that and make sure that we have other funding sources as well. So things like Friends of the Falls, or the rental opportunities at the Schmidt House, more rental opportunities there at the park. I mentioned the future rental at the History and Nature Center, fundraising event. So we had a 1950s Rat Pack themed event at the Summer at the Schmidt, or at the Schmidt House this year called Summer at the Schmidt. We got a Marilyn Monroe impersonator that came, and we netted about $40,000 for a scholarship fund. So preservation champion, I left the best for last for this commission. We've had one meeting of this committee so far. So we're just at the beginning of the work. So we want to continue our historic programs work in partnership, that says, with the city. So we are contracted with the city to provide services today from a preservation perspective. So some of the prospective work plan items that were brainstormed in the first meeting, continued preservation and improvement of the Schmidt House, curation of the archives, artifacts. We do have the Esquoxen Island tribal member who is it runs the museum on our committee as well, and we're excited to get her engaged. History, communication, education plan. So again, that social media newsletter, how we're pushing that information out. Certainly the signage program will be part of that as well at the park. Interested in history themed events. So Karen's working on Washington 250 celebration. There's a notion of a history music walk within the historic district where we move people around. We'll continue to do history talks. I know Commissioner McAndrew is coming up here November 6th, I think. So we're talking about roads. I'm sure we're going to hear about this.
It's all about that.
There you go. There you go. So come on down to the Schmidt House noon on November 6th. Really enjoyed by the community. I mean, I'm always impressed by the turnout we get. We're 50 to 70 people in the room listening to the talks. Karen does a great job on varying, what we're talking about. She's doing the house tours as well. So I'll kind of end on, there is space as we're building the committee for a historic preservation commissioner, member of the commission. If there's any interest, we'd love to have your participation. We're on the ground floor right now, so we're building that work plan. So it's a real time, to influence that process and get your ideas out there. I would also say I'm happy if, even if you don't participate, if you have a middle of the night brainstorm and you want to shoot me something that you're interested in that fits within our strategic plan, I'm happy to get that, on the brainstorm list, because the next meeting is going to be, okay, now we got to prioritize these. It's just tough work, but as I talked to our committee members about for all 5 committees, very limited resources, staff, we can't do it all. So not everything can be a high priority. It should be a challenge. So happy to answer any questions you might have. Yeah.
Great presentation, Todd. Couple of things. I've never thought even to ask this question today, but it occurred to me. What is the expected lifespan of the fish ladder infrastructure within the riverbed? And what is the nexus of relationship between the foundation, fisheries, and the city regarding that riverbed? Who owns the river? I guess is a rather blunt way of putting it.
Yeah, well, it's a body of water, so the foundation doesn't own it.
Along the shoreline.
We own the shoreline for that. Real estate, so to speak, around it. Fish and Wildlife has an easement for the hatchery from us.
From the foundation.
From the foundation, so it sits on our property, but they have a forever easement.
Permanent, perpetual.
That's right. In terms of the fish ladder, I don't know life expectancy. I thought that it was constructed in 1962 when we built the park, which I think part of it was, but as I understand it, they're there's portions of that fish ladder that predate that flood.
They turned it back.
Yeah.
I thought it goes back to the fifties.
Yeah.
What's that?
The first part is 1890.
Yeah, that's-
I heard that on your tour, Don.
And Don forgot that part.
Well, my reason for bringing it up, Todd, because I'm gonna raise a more difficult issue with the second son. I wanna be helpful first. I shouldn't have said any of that, but, it seemed in rattling for,
You're not trying to find a word, are you?
no, it's the development equivalent of mitigation revenue. When the Department of Fisheries, I mean, there is a deep pocket entity that you have a nexus with. Reasonably deep pocket, the Department of Fisheries. And they have an easement, but their use of that easement is both a significant strategic asset of yours and it creates administrative burdens for you. I'm just saying that, that's just an opinion. Now, if I'm right about that, at some point there might be, in terms of strategic, it's within a strategic planning context, I bring all of this up. It would seem to me it might be worthwhile exploring what I will call a mitigation angle with the Department of Fisheries so that you get some financial support. I mean, they have their own financial burdens running the hatchery, doing whatever they do in terms of maintenance. And they have an easement, they might figure, well, we don't need to worry about the foundation. But I guess what I'm encouraging you to think about strategically long term is that maybe they do have some kind of ongoing obligation to help you. Because without your infrastructure and property, they lose a significant public facing aspect of what they do. And I guess behind all of what I'm saying is that I dare say they take that for granted. And if you are looking for a whole new strategic redirect, I think you need to really boldly engage. I mean, you don't want to antagonize them, scare them away, but it seems to, is any of this making sense to anyone? I think there's a round there for some constructive dialogue to get them to be more of a financial partner. I mean, they've got their own internal costs, but there's the external collateral costs, and you are bearing all of that burden. I mean, because that's the serial premises of that whole rift make any sense to me.
I think it's true that we bear a lot of the burden from a maintenance perspective of the site. They do directly around their site, they maintain that,
Sure.
even around. Obviously the hatchery itself. I understand the deep pockets of Department of Fish and Wildlife and the state. Sure, yes, although, if you ask them, they probably would say nobody at the state has deep pockets at the
Just
moment.
like the city would say the same thing.
Right, yeah, but I'm hearing you, yeah, I think that's interesting to explore.
So the other thing, I'm glad you got out of the gate early with the acknowledgement of the portfolio this commission has with the History and Nature Center, because I like John and enjoyed working with him. He's a great guy. But I think he saw that nexus as kind of a nuisance that he could finesse. And I really would like to, having used the term already once, I really would welcome some constructive engagement, because naive to this discussion, for another purpose entirely, Chuck did provide us with the ordinance that controls modern development in the park. And John, I dare say, it's like, I feel like I'm speaking ill of the dead. I think he just wished that didn't exist, but it does exist. And it has force, and there's a purpose to it. And I appreciate your opening salvo there, that you recognize that we have some regulatory oversight of what you've built there from an external point of view. Nothing operationally. That's, I mean, we're glad to talk about that.
Sure.
Exhibits and displays, but in terms of new construction, so I just want to say that piece.
I have a couple things. A long time ago, John kept talking about pay stations. There's a volunteer pay station, pay. For part, that he came up with the idea from the Wally Delta. Is that dead issue, or is that a sort of proposed possibility?
It's not a dead issue. It's not part of the conversation right now. We're more leaning into, this Friends of the Falls, and membership levels, more voluntary, membership levels, part of Friends of the Falls. Something as low as $10 a month to help preserve the space that you love, up to, $100.
His idea was to do a pay station, volunteer pay station. Suggested donation, whatever term you
We
want. to
built a
use.
kiosk or,
Yes.
a shelter, and we have a kiosk, which is sitting in our shop right now. So we have not decided how we're going to program that. It could be part of the History and Nature Center. I'm not rushed. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. We've not had any conversations with the board about, paying for, or putting pay stations out there. So, part of my math, which is simple, back of the envelope math is, through, numbers that we got through some geofencing, phones, pinging towers, understanding how many people are coming into the park a year. We get about 120,000 unique visitors to the park a year. And what I see outside of my window is a lot of passionate people who are regulars in the park, and a lot of newbies in the park, but people love the space. Obviously, just a great energy there. I believe that people would be willing to support that financially and from a volunteer perspective. If we had 1% of those individuals supporting the park financially, and they supported the park at an average of $100 a year, that's $120,000 coming back to the park a year. I think that's conservative. And year one might be lower than that, but if we get 2%, that's $240,000 a year. So that's more where I'm focused right now. I can't say that we'll never do voluntary pay stations, but I think just asking someone to donate rather than helping them to feel like they're part of the team that's maintaining this park for their community, I think that can get more traction.
I think part of the problem is people still do not realize it's not a city park. It is a privately owned park, and they don't know if the people have gotten that message, even though they go down there many, many times. The ones I've talked to still don't realize it's not a city-owned park.
Yeah, so you can expect to see with the Friends of the Falls campaign, with the resources that we have, a public relations blitz, and that doesn't just mean putting signs up and telling people this is a publicly owned park, city park. That means social media, it means newsletter, it means ad buys, it means speakers bureaus, it means a lot of different things. So we'll be canvassing the area today. You gotta hit people with, in a lot of different ways to get their attention about things. So we're planning on doing that.
Is the Tumwater Festival, Falls Festival, is that run by the city or the foundation?
City.
City. I'll say that could be a potential revenue making thing.
It's a great event.
It's great.
Yeah, it is, and wasn't it attended more, didn't you have more attendance this
Yeah,
year?
it grows every year. It's turned
It's
into.
taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
And I think there's room for more events like that at the park.
And-
Yeah.
And there could be certainly something for the foundation to do there in terms of raising some money. I don't know what, but
Yeah.
nice, I'm sure.
We had a booth there, we had presence there. Obviously, we're allowing the city to run the event there, we're happy to do so. We weren't ready yet. We didn't have the Friends of the Falls campaign teed up yet, but next year we'll be ready for that.
They're looking for historic commissioners and a dunk tank. If you want.
Absolutely.
I had dunk tank at the front of my head. Really did. I'll do it. I'm in.
To buy the balls or to sit in the dump?
I'll say dunk tank.
Another one I have for you is,
Rumors about the Falls Terrace reopening, anybody know who's wanting to get there? That's the most popular question I get with these Riverwalk tours is what's happening with the Falls Terrace? When are they gonna open up? And it seems.
I don't know if you saw the Olympic article that Ralph Boone wrote, that I'd give you the same answer. I've heard the same thing.
He says it's gonna reopen, but he can't commit to him. The guy that owns it.
I talked to a gentleman who worked for the fisheries department. I don't know his name. The signs are still blank. And one of the things I think this historic commission wanted to see, the signage that the state was gonna do, and they haven't done it. How do you prod the camera?
Well, I think some leverage we do have is the fact that we are gonna be overhauling our signage program. And the public doesn't care who owns what,
Correct.
signage platforms.
No.
So what, we don't control them, but, with the overhaul of that signage program, we will be having a conversation with them about, hey, it's time. I don't know the whole story behind why, they have yet to put signs up. But I know that there's a story there, so.
Okay,
Part of clarification though, Dave, I thought the unfinished signs were I'll call it the Bob Droll Trail Project, not the fisheries.
no, there's some posts at the fisheries.
Fisheries has unfinished signs too?
Yeah, that was part of that project, and we had meeting after meeting about those signs, with community members and, the foundation board, the tribes. It's out of that whole project to redo the hatchery several years ago, it seemed like the sign thing was the most meetings we had. And we came up with a variety of interpretive signs that everybody agreed to. And then some years later, after they hadn't happened, we got a message from Fish and Wildlife that, hey, we're gonna put together a sign committee and we're gonna decide what we're gonna put on these signs. So to which I said, I'm done this once, I'm out. So I don't know where it is, but
Doesn't the Comet Trail have some blank templates too?
in a Tumwater historic sense, not in a fish.
Yes.
Yeah,
So there's two sets of unfinished signs.
yes. Different. The
Themes.
different things, different, we're funding the Peak Comet Trail signs. Fish and Wildlife is doing their signs, and then Todd is doing new signage in the park.
You familiar with the zoo lights phenomenon? Like Tacoma Zoo lights?
Yeah.
So, I know, yet another great idea. And so I've been in your position running a nonprofit, so I know that's the bane of your existence. But I've often thought that a winter time, and you don't want people running through that park in the middle of the night in December.
Mhm.
But a zoo lights display around the upper falls where you can kind of control traffic and you've got reasonably safe surfaces. I think that would be a good off-season kind of event for you to consider. Where you make stuff out of lights. I mean, the zoo makes animals. I don't know what you might do, but it's just a strange thought. I just thought I'd offer.
Yeah, we've talked about holiday lighting.
Oh, okay, yeah, there we go. All right.
We've also talked about, I was at the Minneapolis Zoo for some reason last fall, visiting some of my wife's friends. And they have, probably, I don't know, 5,000 jack-o'-lanterns carved by artists on a loop trail throughout the zoo. So I thought about that too, on the loop trail, around this time of year. And that is a potential big money fundraiser for us. So we're not there yet though. So kind of been building the scaffolding here for the past few months.
Okay, it's bedtime for
Yeah,
senior
it's-
citizens.
yeah.
Oh,
Literally.
Can't not wait for another 8 months to have a meeting for us.
Yeah, if we had meetings more often, than every 6 months, Chuck, we wouldn't be up to the middle of the
You
night.
even beat last night's Parks Commission in the duration, so,
holy moly.
wow.
Anyway, our next meeting is November 20, just before Thanksgiving. Unless there's something else to do, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
I'll be in California, but I might, if
So,
you have
no,
no mind, I might be.
Okay. Dave?
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for coming.
What I'm here for.
Yeah.
We got a lot.
Seriously.
Very
Yeah,
exciting.
man.
We got too many ideas, too much time for working.
No.
Anyway, seriously,
But I also
Was
want
that right?
to,
Okay. Yeah,
I was
we do that.
looking at this